Heyo, good people. This is Niraj, and I am back with another bonus episode of U.S. election. This is international edition, as in I have a panel of non-U.S. citizens who are looking into this U.S. election and giving their feel, emotion, and how they're looking into this whole upcoming election in general. So, if you are a U.S. citizen, I hope this helps to make you more informed decision to get a better idea and understanding how the international community is looking into the upcoming election. And if you are a non-US citizen, I hope this panelist I gathered have kind of gathered the emotion and the feeling and the thoughts you are going through right now. And this is going to be a two-parter because it was so much information, so much discussion. I had to break it down. However, I will post part 2 tomorrow so that it is before November 3rd and it is before the main election day, and the US citizens can make an informed decision rather. So let me know what you guys think. Hope this gives you more knowledge than you knew before, and hope this is fun, and let me know. All right, guys, we're live, and thank you so much, first of all, for all of you being here. And the election is in just a few days, and we represent the non-American citizens, and which affects all of us. And I think our voices needs to be out there too. So we're just gonna go around. First starts, we're gonna go around and introduce ourselves, and then we're gonna talk U.S. election. So I'm gonna just pick Prakat, and Prakat, why don't you start?
So my name is Prakat. I live in US, but originally from Nepal.
And Marwan?
Okay, so my name is Marwan Samir, and I'm 24 years old. I used to live in the US. I lived there for 5 years, from 2015 to 2020, and now I'm back to my country, which is Morocco.
Thanks, Marwan. Angela?
My name is Angela. I was born and raised in Nepal, and I have been living in Canada for 5 years, I think.
Faiz?
Hey guys, this is Fez. I'm originally from India, Delhi. I moved to the States in 2015. I recently moved to Seattle, so yeah.
Simone?
Hey everyone, my name is Simone. I was born and raised in Italy. I did college here in the States. I'm currently living in Los Angeles. And just so that you get my background, I did 1 year in Missouri. So very different political outlook. And then then here in Los Angeles. And then I spent the rest of my years here. So about 6 years in Los Angeles.
Thank you, everybody. So, again, U.S. election is coming up. So how are we feeling? And just quick FYI, if you have any follow-up for any of the panelists, just use the reaction on Zoom so that I know. And I'll put all the questions on the chat too, so you know what question we're discussing on. And I'm gonna time these, so you'll get 2 minutes to get your response. It can be shorter, and let's not go any time longer. And let's have everybody participate. Let's have a good civil discussion going. So I'm gonna start from Prakat. Prakat, how are you feeling about this whole U.S. election?
I don't know, man. I'm a bit nervous, I guess. The election could turn out in either favor because last time, even the polls did predict that one party is gonna suppress other, like it went the opposite way. So this year, I don't know. So it's very unpredictable right now. Moments like it's an intense time. Plus, especially with this voting mailing system, anything can happen. So, yeah.
Thanks, Prakat. So Angela,
How are you feeling about US election?
Yeah, there is a lot of miscommunication going on. I feel like, but at the other hand, there is a lot of awareness as well. Like people are really trying this time, I think. So I don't really know for sure, but I believe Americans will make the right choice. And I hope I don't have to hear Trump's name ever in the news again. So I'm hopeful.
Thanks, Angela. Marwan.
Okay, so like Angela said, I'm hopeful too, and I believe that the election in 2016 turned out the way it was because a lot of people didn't vote. I think it was like 46% of Americans didn't vote, and I feel like this year a lot of them are gonna get engaged and not make the same mistake and vote again. So I'm pretty hopeful, and I think they will make the right choice. I think this time they're not gonna vote for the wrong person again. Hopefully.
Thanks, Marwan. And just a quick fact: in 2016, only so there were 245 people who were eligible to vote, and only 140 million people voted. So it's a massive, massive gap. So,
Yes.
Faze, how are you feeling?
I think I'm hopeful, I'm optimistic, and I think, like you said, right, more people are going to vote this time. Even last time, right, even in 2016, overall, the percentage of people who voted for Hillary Clinton were more than the people who voted for Trump. But he lost because individually, like the states were in his favor. But yeah, I mean, I think the point gap between him and Trump is kind of continuing. It hasn't narrowed as it did in 2016. So yeah, I'm kind of hopeful that things are going to change for the good.
Sounds good. Simone?
All right. Yeah, so I'm pretty nervous as well. Obviously, whoever comes up is gonna have a lot of influence, not just here in America, but also in Europe, as many politicians look up to America and whoever is in charge to, push new policies here and there. For what concerns us internationals, I'm pretty worried about the latest statements that have been made regarding visas and all that. I partially understand where like this might be coming from due to the pandemic and all that, but I don't think it's rationally validated as like, especially in my field, engineering, like we pull a lot of weight for visas and overall like OPT and all that. So we'll see. What really worries me is the extreme parts on each side. So on the left side and on the right side, especially with the militias talking about, especially after election night, to go and shoot for whatever outcome it's going to be, especially on the right side. So yeah, this year has been crazy. So the elections, we'll see. We'll see. Definitely nervous. Yeah.
We'll see in the Phase. You had a follow-up?
Right. No, I add two things. I mean, I think he correctly pointed out that whoever becomes the next US president, it doesn't just impact the US people, it impacts the world because fortunately, unfortunately, it is a world power and it has a lot of power to dictate how things are going on. The other point is I'm kind of scared about Trump losing and not accepting. So that is one thing I'm nervous about. What's going to happen then?
That's a very valid question, and we will just have to wait and find out, I suppose. So I have a kind of follow-up to you all and just react if you have something to say about it. So since America, like Simone pointed out, Faye pointed out, America claims to be this world power, world giant, and thinks it is number one. Do you think America still have the same respect, still have the same power after this 4 year of Trump presidency? Simone? And after that,
oh, sorry. Am I supposed to use the Zoom?
Yeah, use reactions. But yeah, go ahead. And then Angela.
I mean, as in terms of power, yeah, definitely. Like the U.S. has 5 times the army size as U.S. and China. So definitely they're still number one in terms of power and in terms of the influence that they can play on other countries. I mean, look at all the military bases they have in pretty much anywhere. In terms of credibility, it depends. So it really depends on who's in charge in the other countries. So, for example, Europe being more socialist than whatnot, the relationships with with the U.S. have been compromised. Although, if you look at other countries, for example, in France, so Macron is like more on the left side, but there's another party led by Marine Le Pen that's more on the right side. So we're seeing these shifts in terms of what people are looking up to in terms of the values of America and not in Europe. I don't know, honestly, other parts of the world. I know that with Asia, we've been compromising a lot of relationships, especially like with China and other countries over there. But yeah, I do still think that the U.S. has the most influence over other countries. Overall, like credibility wise, definitely it lost for all the things that Trump has said here and there. But yeah, market wise, economy wise, I think like we're still number one, like influence. Yeah.
Sounds good. Angela?
Yeah, I was actually going to say the same. Like compared to the riches and how much power they have, definitely they are the powerhouse in terms of any other country. But like quality of life, you can't really look up to US because many people are below the poverty line now, and they don't really set the greatest example for democracy anymore because of the civil unrest that literally happens like every other day in the country. So they do have power, but none of the countries would look up to the US and be like, okay, this is where dreams are made up, pretty much.
So America is not being idolized anymore.
Yeah. Like who would want to go there for everything that's happening, right?
Sure. So, Prakat?
So yeah, so in my opinion, like my thinking on that, when I wasn't back in Nepal, I used to think US was this heaven, a place of powerhouse and stuff. Living here after like 5-6 years, I'm kind of sketchy to say that anymore because honestly, US is losing, like Angela said, losing its credibility, especially last 4 years. It has been a shit show. I don't know if I'm supposed to use like our language over here or not.
Yeah, feel free.
All right, so yeah, it's fair. Like last 4 years, like it has been losing its credibility, and that's what I think.
Sounds good. So I'm gonna get I'm gonna get to how voting works in your country. So if Simone wants to start, sorry, Simone, just saw your reaction, Simone, and then we're gonna move to our next question.
Oh, I had a follow up on on that. So I think so if you're international, I think unless you have lived in the States and have seen how things work over here, you're not gonna have you're still gonna okay, let me restart. So in other countries, at least I can speak for Italy, and I can speak for some other countries because I have a lot of friends like in like scattered. The way that people think of the States, or like the way that the media in those countries portrays the States, it's always like one that kind of idolatrizes the country. So yeah, it's been a shit show. Yeah, it's been like everything, but unless you've lived here and you've experienced it, like that part of the States doesn't come off as it's not as apparent when you go abroad. In fact, if you ask any of the people like any of my friends that I would ask to like, oh, like, what do you think of America? Or like, should you come to America? They'd be like, yeah, like it's a dream. Like that it's still embedded in those cultures, at least in my country's culture. And even with the debate, like they will cover the American debate. They would like, you know, people keep seeing that on TV and they're like, oh wow, that's, you know, that's America. Like, you know, it always comes off as like, oh, the grass over there is greener than here. But of course that's not valid for us because we have experienced it firsthand, and it's not really like that.
Thanks, Simone. And I'm going to take last follow-up on this topic. Marwan?
Okay. So from my personal experience, I think the US is still a very, very attractive option compared to everything else, but it has been losing the advantages that it had, and mostly due to poor leadership from the president that we have now. And I think that if proper leadership is restored, it can be like another like a better option, and like it can become more attractive because a lot of people I've seen right now are like if they had to choose between, like, for example, US to Canada, which are not very, very different, but very different politically, a lot of them would choose to go to Canada that has a better like standard of living and better politics and friendlier people. And it's also like a more liberal country. But I feel like with proper leadership, the US can be like a good country again that people would love to go to and live.
Sounds good. So next I want to talk about voting itself and how is voting in your country, and if you want to experience how many times you voted, and yeah, discuss the voting procedures. I'll start from Prakat again.
So voting as in if I have voted or not, right? So yeah, I have voted one time when I was I think 18 back in Nepal. So procedures wise, I barely remember what were the exact procedures, but every city has a ward. It's like a city office or something. You go there and register for voting. Actually, people also came to our houses for us to register, like for us to get registered. They would take our names and get us registered for voting. And then at the day of election, we used to go stand in lines, and the rest of them is same as over here, I guess, and fill out the ballots, put it in the box. At the end of the day, they took it away and started counting the votes. So nothing electronic over there, so everything had to be done manually.
Mm-hmm.
And yep, so that's the main, I guess, one of the main difference over here and back there. Like doing all the stuff manually with the paper, there are chances that people would cast legal votes, vote twice, vote in other people's name. So those things occur like when you do stuff manually. But yeah, that's the main difference, I guess, over here and back home.
Thanks, Prakat. Angela?
Sorry, I was muted. I haven't voted ever. I feel like a hypocrite coming here, but I wasn't registered in Nepal, and I'm not sure why I didn't. I guess I was just not interested in politics because it didn't affect me. But I'm learning. And in Canada, I'm not eligible to vote just yet, but when I am, I'll definitely vote. And for what kind of system Canada uses, we still use the British parliamentary system of government. And the federal election, one thing is the federal election is the same throughout the provinces, and including the Maritimes. So pretty much anywhere in Canada you go, you'll have one system of voting, which is great because it doesn't create any miscommunication. You just know what to do because you've been doing that since you were 18. I think that's the legal age to vote. And also we have prime minister, not president. And there's the electoral college system. So I guess that's great because the voting is by the people, and it's what people wanted.
That's fair. Marwan, how's voting in Morocco?
So yeah, so personally, I've never voted because I lived in Morocco until I was I think 18, and there were no elections at that time. And I moved to the United States after that for 5 years. when I came back right now, but there's still no elections whatsoever. So I didn't exercise my right to vote yet. But here we have in Morocco we have it's a constitutional monarchy with a parliament. So we vote for a political party in which our king picks one prime minister, pretty much. And yeah, and that's how it works here.
Sounds good. Faith?
Yeah, I mean, India is a very similar parliamentary form of democracy, like Angela was talking about. So yeah, we don't have a president; we have a prime minister. You don't vote for the prime minister; you vote for the party, and then the party decides who's going to be the prime minister. Um, One key difference is that we do not have the mail ballots like you have in the US. It's not allowed. You cannot have paper ballots or anything like that. So there are electronic voting machines called EVM, which are supposed to be non-tamperable, but there have been cases where people have accused that some of the electronic voting machines were tampered with. Anyway, but yeah, it happens every 4 years instead of 5 years. I have voted several times. I have voted in the state elections, and I have also voted in the central elections twice when I was back in India. Yeah.
I guess you're really the veteran on the group. Simone.
Right. So I voted twice when I was back in Italy. I think I was 18. And then I still vote whenever there's a referendum. I guess sent my my ballot here, and then I ship it back. And then yeah, so Italy is a parliamentary republic, and we have the worst voting system ever because it keeps on changing, and based on whoever is on in office at the time, they can just like vote for a law that will favor them. And so even, for example, last year, the popular vote was for, so we're a multi-party political system, by the way. So the majority of people voted for one party, but then two lesser parties did a coalition so that at that time they would somehow have the majority. So they were not like, somehow they're still like in office. So every time it changes, and they can change it whenever they want. So it's kind of, I'd say it's kind of broken as a system, but yeah, that's what we have.
So I have a follow-up in general. Sounds like none of the country we have representing in this panel, none of these countries really idolize United States way of electing. So how many did you know when Americans are voting for president, they're actually voting for the people who will actually vote for the president? Because that came as a shock when I learned about it. I did not know you're not actually voting for the president. You're actually just voting for the people who would actually go and vote for the president itself, which was kind of silly. Anyways, I saw a reaction from FaZe.
No, I think you brought up the point of idolizing the US form of elections. I think one thing that I would definitely want India to incorporate from the US is the way the two potential presidential candidates, they have a debate and they talk about it. That is missing from Indian democracy. We don't do that, and I think that's a really good way of educating the voters who what they actually stand for. It's like the parties they kind of, I don't know if it's like a fear of talking about it in the public. I don't know what that is, but I think that is one thing I would definitely want to see in India. Let's say Prime Minister Modi debating Rahul Gandhi, for example. That never happens. We don't even know what that is going to be like. Everybody's going to go to the media, give their own sermons, but dude, if you just come one-on-one, face-to-face, and have a civil discussion, that would really, really help voters like me to actually decide who I want to go and vote for. So yeah, that is one thing India should learn from the US.
Thanks, FaZe. Simone?
Okay. So in terms of like looking up to politics here in the States for my country, I think Italy just looks up to how debating is done here, but it's mostly because it's like kind of it's got a cinematic effect. Like, it's mostly entertainment. You don't really understand, like, what is it, like a 2 hour long with like a 1 minute back and forth, like question and answer. Like, you don't really understand the policies or something. It's just like, they're just bickering at each other. But besides that, so you brought up a point that you were surprised that there's no majoritarian system here in America. And it would make sense. Like at first, like it would make sense to have a majoritarian, but I don't think that system will be fair. Because, for example, like California has the most people in the country. So, obviously the people, like with a majoritarian system, like in Alaska, people wouldn't have any saying, right? So the way that the country was built with all the states, like with this system, it allows for each country to pull its own weight in a sort of way, because otherwise it would always be California deciding everything. So whatever works for California, it's not going to work for people in Alaska. It's not going to work for people in Missouri. So I still do. I think that there must be a way so that everybody has some sort of weight in their decision. Because obviously, people over here, people like across the country, they're very different cultures, very different needs of what their state actually looks for and what their state needs. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, Prakash.
So follow up on Faiz. Just like India, Nepal has a similar system where they don't actually debate and all, but they have like rallies and stuff to, I guess, to decide the candidate. And another thing is, like in Nepal as well, you vote for the party, not for the actual prime minister or the president as well, right? So at the end, the party is electing whoever they want their leader to be. Also, I have to give a disclaimer that I have not been back to Nepal since 6 or 7 years, so I don't know how much politics have changed over here. But from the news and all, it has been really unstable. I know the time where the country ran without prime minister for like a couple of, I think, years, right? It was like 2 years. I'm not sure about that, but I might be wrong with that. But yeah, there was a time that country ran without prime minister, and the politics has really been unstable in Nepal lately. And I don't even know these days how they decide which party will go through. And I'm not sure when was the last election actually. So yeah.
Sounds good. Face.
No, just one point to his point, what Prakat said. So I think Nepal is still a new democracy because it was not a democratic country before, right? So I think they still have time to learn and adjust the thing. But in the case of India, for example, India has been independent in 1947. So in that entire period, I think not much has changed in terms of how we have been following the same British parliamentary form of democracy. We could have incorporated, I think, some of the things which would have made it better for the voters, but they didn't. And yeah, and also like I think I'm not sure, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Nepal was till very recently a Hindu state, correct?
Yeah, very recently.
Okay. So yeah, I think so like just on the same point, right? I mean, I think they still have. I would give them the benefit of the doubt that they still have time to fix some of the things that they have seen broken or improved in their democratic system. But in the case of India, I mean, I don't think they're learning. I don't think they are putting any effort into this thing. Nobody even wants to go and have like a civil debate. If you go and see some of the India media channels, right, and the way the parties, the representatives of the party, they come and just bicker about things. It's like, I don't know, like it's like so not graceful. It's like it feels like that they're two kids talking and just throwing jargon at each other and not at all having this discussion for the sake of the voter. They just dare to prove their point without listening to the other people. But yeah, anyway.
Thanks, guys. So, Prakat, we're going to move on to the next question. So, and I'm actually going to start from you. So, how do you think U.S. election will affect relationship between you and your country and America? What's the relationship like between Nepal and America?
Honestly, I don't know if election would affect like anything like in Nepal. Like US really does not have anything against or with to do with Nepal. I even doubt that Nepal is under US's radar or anything. because it has been like a neutral thing. I haven't heard any like big news with Nepal and US or even small news. So one thing I did hear was this MCC proposal. So I think from what it means is like US is giving like $500 million to Nepal to establish a base or something in Nepal like that, like army base or something like that. Like I'm not exactly sure, but that proposal said that uh, US would give Nepal $500 million, no strings attached, and it was actually in their website, like the embassy website for Nepal. So that's one thing I heard what's going on between Nepal and US. But other than that, I, I don't think there's anything else. One thing I do think what would affect is international students getting an F1 visa to get in US. So like we know, with this Trump administration, everything has been scrutinized. Things are harder these days, like to get the F1, even H1B proposals. Like Trump just proposed a new H1B rules. I don't know if it will go through or not, but it's pretty harsh on H1B. And these things might get affected if Trump administration wins, because he is not really in the favor of having foreigners in the country, like even for studying or working is a different case, right? So he even attacked, his administration even attacked the F1 students, like trying to send back who, it's like in the middle of the COVID where students have to take the online classes and they would have to go back if they are not enrolled in the colleges that would offer in class in-person class, and that and colleges were very like at this time the very few colleges offer in-person classes. So these things, yeah, we definitely have to consider these things when like Trump gets elected again, and I don't know what's coming
Yeah.
next. So
Thanks, Prakat. So, Angela, how does the change in administration, or yeah, if there is a change in administration, is going to affect relationship between the U.S. and Canada?
The relationship's good for most part. I think everybody wants to do good with Canada. The only thing I can remember is I think the NAFTA deal. Trump did try to impose taxes on a lot of things that's imported to Canada. So steel, aluminum, softwood milk, lumber. Trudeau did say that we're not going to take it. I think there's still a lot of debate around what they're going to do with NAFTA because they have to negotiate the trade that happens around North America. The last thing I heard was now Canada is imposing tariff to US for all the stuff they're importing. So I like that Canada is standing their ground and they're not letting Trump push us around because, we're the nice guys. So hopefully, he wouldn't make bad with the only country that's in their pretty much his favor. So hopefully it'll be good. Yeah.
Thanks, Angela. Marwan, how's the
Um,
relationship? How does the new administration, if there is a new administration, changes things with Morocco?
Personally, like I haven't like done like a lot of research on this, but I feel like we're not really like a big country, like economy wise, for it to matter to us. And we've always like had good relationships with Republicans as well as Democrats. Whoever was in office, Morocco had always good relationships with them. So I don't think it would affect us that much if either of the candidates gets
Whoever
elected.
gets the office.
But I feel like this was in 2016. My country like was very very close to the Clinton family, so they really really wanted Hillary Clinton to be in office, and they even donated like a lot of money to her campaign. And I don't think Donald Trump really appreciated that. So I'm not sure about the details about all of this, but I'm just saying like whoever gets elected, we're fine with it because we're not really like um, we don't really have like strong like um, economic relationship with the US. We're mostly dealing with Europe.
No.
Yeah.
Faiz?
Right. I think I think the next president, if it's Joe Biden, he's gonna be less or zero, not xenophobic like Trump. So I definitely expect um, the rules that Trump is trying to change with respect to H-1B to not be there. I mean, he is trying to increase the minimum wage that you need to get an approved H-1B, which is bad because I think majority of the H-1Bs are occupied by the Indians. So um, yeah, that is one big thing for the Indian students specifically who are coming to the US for their studies, and it actually helps the US. It helps the US universities because a big portion of their revenue comes from the international students, and most of the international students come from India and China. So that is one big thing. I think the relationship between India and China, irrespective of who's going to be the president, they are still going to be in favor of giving better defense deals to India because that's how it can keep a check on China. And China makes good relations with Pakistan, and India and Pakistan are not at good terms. So I think it becomes like a circle. So China is going to support Pakistan. So even if Joe Biden or Trump, whoever wins, I think that part is not going to change. It's still going to remain the same. I think one more thing that I think might be better if Joe Biden comes into the picture is the green card processing time. So like right now, if I apply for my green card, it's going to take me 150 years as per the current queue to get a green card process, which I'm not going to wait for, of course. But I think that process can be improved and it is being talked about. So one of the proposals is that they're going to remove the per country cap. And if that actually happens, it's going to benefit the Indians the most. Um, so I think, yeah, these are some of the things that are directly having, they are going to have a direct impact on India.
Thank you, Faiz. Simone?
Yeah, so I think it's gonna have there's different levels of which whatever candidate goes in office, like it's gonna affect my country. So at the micro level, I don't think besides what Prakash mentioned about the H-1Bs and all that, and even F1s, I don't think besides that, I don't think anything else is gonna change. The country has a pretty good relationship with the states. I don't think we will be that foolish to just change it according to whoever goes in office because the US is a good ally to have. So that goes for the micro. So at the macro level, it's going to be huge on the political axis of Europe in general. So right now, the current situation of Europe is populist versus Democrats. So whoever goes in office is going to have a tremendous effect over over any political campaign that any country in Europe is gonna pursue. So yeah, we'll see.
Thanks, Simone. So this term H-1B has been thrown around a lot. So if anybody, Marwan, actually, if you want to talk about H-1B, so my listeners know what that really is.
So pretty much, if you're like an international student and you graduate and start working in the US, you have like one option, which is OPT. And that option usually lasts from 1 to 3 years, depending on what major you study. And they give longer times to work for engineering majors and like all the STEM majors. But after 3 years, you can either apply for an H-1B, which is a visa that lets you work and live in the United States. And it's also, I think, an immigrant visa because it enables you later to get your green card and become a permanent resident. But the problem with that is that you have to meet a certain requirements as far as salary that you should get paid. And also you should win the lottery to get the H-1B. And I think the odds are like 30 or 35% per year. So pretty much it's a visa to work and live in the United States, but also it gives you a path into becoming a permanent resident later on.
Prakash?
Yes, that's about it.
Thanks, Marwan. Prakash?
Yeah, so like Marwan said, right now the H-1B system is lottery-based system, for which if you have a master's degree, you have more likelihood to get the H1B. Otherwise, the cap is I think 85,000, and each year like 300, 400,000 people apply for it. So you don't know, even if you are really talented, it's your luck. Now, so with this H1B, this has been happening so far in America, but this with the new proposal that Trump administration just proposed a new rule that H1B people have to be paid certain like 30 or 40% more than an average American, like for the same work. So this is to actually encourage companies to hire American workers. And it does sound like good on, okay, what's the problem? Like H1B people are getting paid more, but this causes and like this causes the companies not to hire H1B anymore. And the problem, especially within IT industry, is there are not enough skilled workers. That's why these companies have to bring workforce from other countries, like especially from like a lot of people are from India. And this will affect that workforce. Like how are you going to hire people if you don't have people to work, right? So people with like I don't know why like
Okay.
what's the thought on this, like, but I think it this way, like if you don't have people, your job is going to go away from the country. It's the outsourcing is going to increase that, and that's for sure, because if you don't have people over here, you're not going to pay so much for an worker to work over here. Rather, you just send your work away, especially in the time of COVID. It has been proven that you can, like the whole IT work can be done remotely. So
Thanks,
the
Prakat.
new rule, yeah, I don't think it's gonna work.
Face?
I think everything that Prakat said that's true. I just wanted to clarify one thing that it is a non-immigrant visa with a dual intent. So yeah, H1B.
Thank you. Thank you. So, as we know, election is in just a few days, and a lot of mail-in ballots have already been casted, but there are still people who are yet to vote, and they're apparently still undecided voters. So let's pretend you guys, this is your opportunity to give a message to undecided voters, and also if you want to tell why voting itself is important to undecided Americans. And I'm going to start from Prakat.
Okay, undecided voters. I don't want to put my opinion on the people, so it's all up to you guys. What's better for you, and you gotta think in a way like what would be better for you. It's like country-wise, economy-wise, like there's certain rules like each party wants to implement that's either gonna hurt or gonna make it better. So if you ask me, with this new Trump administration rules that has been going along, he has been proposing these rules, NTPS, attack on H1B, attack on F1 students, these will actually hurt economy than to improve it. Right? So yeah, that's my opinion on it.
Okay, thanks, Prakat. Angela? Message for undecided voters and why voting is important.
Yeah, I think it's really important to voice your opinion. And I would like to speak out to the younger generation because, when I was young, I didn't think that my voice would make a difference. But I was wrong. Like, as I'm growing older and learning more, I know that it does. And, you can't just let the old people run the country. I feel like a lot of younger world leaders are making such a huge difference, like you can see around. So I think, like, not for this election, but even in the future, I feel like it's really important that representation matters, and people who are from your age group should be the one leading the country.
Thanks, Angela. Marwan? You're muted.
Sorry.
Uh-huh.
So I think voting is important because you get to decide what kind of community you want to live in. What do you want? And also it has direct and indirect consequences on your life and the life of people that surround you. And when you don't vote, it's like you're giving up your power It's like you're giving up something that you have, because your vote that is not going to count. And that's exactly what happened in 2016, when a lot of people didn't vote, and they got surprised that the election turned out the way it turned out. So that's pretty much what I have to say.
Thanks, Marwan. Faith?
Yeah, I think voting is important. If you think it's not, go watch American Horror Story the last season. They talk about how they didn't vote for Hillary Clinton, thinking that she's gonna win anyways, and she didn't. It's really, really important because, like everyone has said, right, you can voice your opinion. And I think one of the arguments that people make that I don't want to vote is because I think neither of the candidates are good enough. True, you are not going to have a utopian world where you have the best possible candidate who's going to be there, and you only want to vote if the best candidate possible is going to be standing. That's not going to be the case. So even if you think that both of them are evil, choose the lesser evil. Think about the climate change. If you do believe in climate change, you know who do you want to vote for. If you want to talk about the Iran deal, and you know how the repercussions are going to be on that, and you should vote. You should know who you should vote for. If you care about the over 500 children who were separated from their families because of the rule that Trump enforced, those 500 children that they're separated from their families. If you don't want to see that happening again, you should know who you want to vote for again. There are hundreds of things which I can probably bring about here, but go vote because it does matter. I mean, you can think that it's a drop in an ocean, but that drop does make a difference when the ocean is empty and that's the only drop left. So yeah, go ahead and vote.
Thanks, Faith. Simone?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything is being said. So yeah, you should go vote to voice your opinion. Obviously, even if it's just one vote, one ballot can still make the difference, and collectively wise, like it does. So a message for undecided voters: if you don't know who to vote because you haven't made your research and you're still debating whether like to vote for one or the other, definitely look more into it and go vote, because it does matter. I do think though that for some people that have been disappointed on both sides, and they just don't want to have anything anymore to do with that. I don't judge them for that decision, but I still think they should cast an opinion if they have any. But if they don't, then they're free to do it.
Thanks, Simone. So we're telling everybody not to vote for Kanye, yeah?
No.
Yeah, I just have one thing for some people. Don't forget that you did not get a wall.
Yeah. And so I have just a general follow-up for everybody. Angela, you have a reaction, and then I'll ask my question.
I was just gonna add to like research for the candidate. If you think that you haven't done research, like there's still time, and you have to know that you will be voting for someone who did not believe in medical science and who was spewing all these lies. And one thing you never do is blame medical health workers or firefighters. Like you just don't do that. Like that's not what a human being does. That's a coveted profession. So just make sure to vote for the right candidate, because like deep down you already know who is the right candidate.
I saw an interesting video on YouTube where it says nobody is really undecided. They only do it to seek the attention because there's such a jam in this whole election shenanigan. And because everybody knows the real question should be, okay, who are you more leaning towards? And if you're leaning towards somebody, you know you're going to go and vote for that person. And the question I actually had was, anybody can react and pick it up. And this is something I asked in my previous discussion for US citizens, is not voting being non-patriotic? So if I made sense, are you non-patriotic if you do not vote? Just
I think you don't.
react.
I think you just are living your life. I think you're just too busy. I don't think it's not patriotic. I think it's just like you don't give a fuck right now, and you don't care. You're just indifferent. You have your life. You're living your life. You don't care what happens to the country. You don't care what happens to the world. You don't care what happens to anything except for what's going on in your life. So yeah, not patriotic, but indifferent.
Angela?
Yeah, I would think the same too, because just because you're not interested in politics, because a lot of people want to take that negative energy out of your life, and God, we do need that. Like, there's so much bad things happening, and people are just aloof of all those things. So that doesn't make them unpatriotic. It's just they just want to live a life where they are not phased by like negative or energy around them. So
Okay.
that's just the kind of person that they are, like nothing to do with their feelings about their country.
Yeah, I agree with Faiz and Angela. Just because they don't want to vote does not mean that they are not patriotic. Maybe they just don't want to vote this time. There's no good candidates that they like, so or just don't care what happens to the country, like I said. So
Okay. So unfortunately, Simone has to leave, and I guess Faze. Can you stay for a little longer?
I think I'll stay for a while.
Okay, thanks, Faze. But Simone, I really appreciate you joining in, and this was a fun conversation. You're gonna miss out more fun conversation,
Yeah,
and
sorry.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's okay. But thank you for everything you said. And one last thing: don't vote for Kanye, right? Just making sure.
Right. No, don't vote for Kanye.
Any last word before you go? Any final thought?
Yeah, I can give my opinion on the latest question you asked. Yeah, I don't think not voting makes you unpatriotic. I don't think the definition of patriotism has anything necessarily to do with politics. You can still love your country and your culture and overall where you come from without having to be involved in politics. Of course, politics is something that it's part of it, but I don't think it would make you unpatriotic. Yeah, so thank you for having me. Sorry you have work. So it was nice chatting with you all. And yeah, bye.
Thanks, Simone.
Hey guys, thank you so much for making it this far. And remember, this is only part one. I know Simone had to leave, but I have another mediator, panelist, joining me in for part two. So I have more discussion, and if you enjoyed the last week rapid fire, that you'll get that on the next round also, or next part, I suppose. Yeah, in the next part also. So look out for part two. I hope you are enjoying this. Let me know, give me feedback. You can find me on Instagram. You can email me. So my Instagram is @mygoodplacepod. And if you want to email me, my email is mygoodplace.pod@gmail.com. And let me know what you guys think. See y'all on the part two.